Wake up, horror fam, it's November, and you know what that means. And on the subject of food, tonight, I have something scary to show you.
We're friends to the end, remember?
Meal times are times of communion, a required high school text told me. They're supposed to bring us closer together, even when they're disgusting. But some dishes, far from being best served cold, are best not served at all. Some dinners are so god-awful it can drive us to actual violence, if it doesn't kill us first. Or at least drive us to order out instead.
Don't forget to eat your favorite pizza, man.
Today we'll be looking back at 10 of the most spectacular supper botches to be put to the silver screen. So while you linger over last month's leftovers, relax, put up a chair,
have a potato,
and be glad you're not enjoying Talk Horror's 10 Worst Dinners in Horror Films. Number 10. Pet Sematary 2. Number 10 on our list goes to the meal that Sheriff Gus serves his stepson and his friends shortly after becoming a zombie on Halloween night. A dinner consisting entirely of mashed potatoes, beans, and undercooked rabbit. These rabbits, having been freshly slaughtered and only briefly cooked by a man with a permanent open wound on his neck, are probably not safe to eat. Gus also promptly licks the spoon after the mashed potatoes come out and puts it back in the bowl, so they're probably not safe to eat. And the beans he just throws to the floor after they come over to him.
Damn it, Gus.
So, yeah. Did we mention that these rabbits were slaughtered right after Gus killed his stepson's dog for antagonizing them? Sometimes bad tableside manner can make even the tastiest of meals unappetizing, but that's just poor form, Gus. Number 9. Spider Baby.
Do you like spiders, Mr. Howe?
The Mary family from Spider Baby is a special one indeed. Due to its tragic years of inbreeding, the family's been cursed with a condition that causes them to mentally regress in age beginning in puberty. So that awkward asshole phase, it only gets worse. The Mary family are also committed paleo-vegans. As visitors to the family discover when they're cordially invited for dinner, the caretaker has forced them to eat only non-meat to prevent any cannibal hankerings from the children.
We don't eat dead things.
And the children have taken this rule and happily run with it.
I'm proud of you, Virginia. You're doing so well.
Their meal consists of mud, grass, and unwashed hands that just touched real southern cooking for a northern territory. If this sounds unappetizing to you, the youngest child, Virginia, shares your sentiment. Number 8. A Nightmare on Elm Street 5. It can be tough when you're trying to watch your figure. This is especially true for those young, aspiring models out there. The kind of stuff you have to eat in order to maintain your career can be difficult to keep down.
That's not what a cover girl puts in her body.
It can be tempting to let your hair down and cheat a little when you're at social gatherings, such as when you're at a dream dinner with guests.
You're being offered the opportunity of a lifetime. I think you should show a little gratitude.
One of my friends died yesterday, Mother. Do you mind if I take a few hours off to remember him?
Unfortunately for Greta, she's got a strict fitness aide in Chef Freddy Krueger,
Bon appetit!
who's got a distressingly personalized diet plan to keep her at her target weight forever. And no matter how much it may disagree with her, she's not leaving the table until she's finished, even if Freddy himself has to stuff it down her throat. Number 7. House 3, The Horror Show. House 3, as the title of the unrelated movie The Horror Show was forever stuck with, is more like the good version of Wes Craven's Shocker. Mind you, I use good here a little loosely, but instead of having Mitch Pileggi looking smug while zapping around with Power Rangers tier effects, the horror show features a sadistic Brian James with a meat cleaver the size of a mailbox, who just shows up wherever the hell Lance Henriksen, as the cop who put him to death, happens to dwell. And this includes the dinner table. And what is Mrs. McCop serving up but turkey?
Wow, that's some turkey, Mom. Is it Thanksgiving?
Unfortunately, Meat Cleaver Max doesn't just cleave meat, he can also possess it. This meal should be enough to make anyone rightfully lose their appetite, as I, for one, am not eating anything with Brian James' head growing out of it. Nor anything that sounds like this.
Don't look now, Cub, but your family's dead.
Number 6. Flowers in the Attic. Thanksgiving is a time best spent with family. But for those who have lost family, dinner can be just another tragic reminder of what used to be. And when you've not only lost family, but been taken in by sadistically strict relatives, and then made aware that you were the product of incest,
not a stranger, but her own uncle.
Well, then you may be the Dollenganger children from 1987's Flowers in the Attic, in which case you won't have family or dinner to worry about, because you'll be spending 99% of your time locked away in an attic, and 100% of your nutrition is going to come from bland cookies laced with arsenic, and maybe some of your siblings' blood on special occasions. The least tragic part of the whole non-family dinner situation is that you are probably not going to want to spend time with these parent guardian figures anyway. You'd probably die sooner. Number 5. Dumplings. Okay, the last entry was about as close as you can come to starving to death without going over. What kind of meal could possibly be worse than that? I mean, what could realistically be worse? Originally filmed as Fruit Chan's segment from 3 Extremes, Dumplings deals with a chef whose meat buns hold the power to turn back the aging process. Is there a dire consequence to drinking from this fountain of youth and laughing in the face of time? No, but first you do need to source the ingredients. Using the right kind of flour is important, as is the right protein, because the protein holds the key to the whole process. A nice, juicy human fetus.
其实啊，5、6个月最漂亮了。要用水蓝穿刺引下来，外面啊有一层奶油似的胎脂包着。
Your tastes may vary on this one. If you're sane, you will say fuck eternal youth and have a breakdown at what you realize you have chewed up in your mouth. But if you're one of this chef's clients, you do anything to ensure that you get your long-earned meal, and then practically look it in its eyes as you nom it down. Number 4. Theater of Blood. So what could possibly be worse than eating human embryos? Well, with as many Shakespeare-themed murders that derided stage performer Edward Lionheart has in store for his critics, it's no surprise at the scene in which Titus Andronicus Tamara is fed her own babies inside of pies is on the program. But this isn't an encore of the last entry, there's a twist. Flamboyantly outdated caricature Meredith Meridew may have been at the time called an eternal bachelor, so the only babies he has to speak of are his 2 dogs.
We're all of us, all right. Oh, God, Meridew, don't be so disgusting.
But Lionheart decides that he is gonna make this show happen one way or another.
Only he would have the temerity to rewrite Shakespeare.
He takes on the disguise of a cooking show host in order to infiltrate Meridew's highly secure residence, where he proceeds to serve him a delicious sampler of what? What else? And if being literally force-fed the main course wasn't unappetizing enough, our poor critic is also force-fed more of Lionheart's acting before he finally expires.
Detest war. God is doing the dearest morsel.
Number 3. Ravenous. So what's worse than a dog owner having to eat his own dogs? In 1999's Ravenous, a group of disgraced soldiers during the Mexican-American War meet the lone survivor of a patrol who resorted to cannibalism in order to survive the trek, and now wants nothing more than to spread word of the Wendigo diet, granting those who consume human flesh immense vitality in exchange for making them crazed for more.
I ate 5 men in 3 months, feeling happy and healthy and virile.
And when our hero John Boyd finds himself forced to partake in some local fresh cuts in order to survive, the intruder learns about John's moment of weakness and tries to stir his appetite beyond the obligatory no thank you helping by whipping the leftovers of his fellow soldiers into the camp's new sole source of rations. Keep in mind, this is not only military food, it's military food, prepared by mangy fuck-ups on an isolated fort in 1840s Nevada, which probably helps make the supernatural temptation a little more manageable. Number 2. Hannibal. So what could be worse than a soldier forced to eat his own comrades in arms? What about having to eat yourself? And I'm not talking about some lame Survivor type Elm Street 5 from 5 entries up garbage. I'm talking about hardcore eating yourself from the top down. Enter Hannibal Lecter, the guy most people know for eating the livers of those who mildly annoy him. Needless to say, he's in an exotic mood on the night of his escape from an enemy's clutches. He hasn't had any good nosh in a minute, nor any stimulating company, so he decides to go over to DOJ official Ray Liotta's house to have him for dinner, while bringing Clarice Starling as the company. As the man kind of responsible for Lecter's ordeal and Clarice's suspension, Hannibal plans to give them all a piece of his mind before the night's over. But it's Liotta who gets the first taste.
I would really like some.
It mercifully doesn't get much farther than that for Clarice, but it's the thought that really counts. Plus, Hannibal even gets to take some leftovers with him.
It is important, she always used to say. Always to try new things.
Number 1. Society. So what's worse than eating your own tether to sentient life as we know it? Probably whatever this is. In 1989's Society, a Beverly Hills teen investigating a local nerd's supposed death discovers the way the 1% live, keeping secrets, attending pool parties, and hosting classy events where they all get together, discuss promotions, and bring their captured prey as the main dish in the shunt, in which they take off all their clothes, fuse their bodies into amorphous chimeric figures, and proceed to recreate Sodom and Gomorrah in the most abstract way possible.
Well, son, I guess you're right. I am a butthead.
They suck the guts out of their dinner, they suck the guts out of their guests, they suck the guts between one another, and it's all called the Aristocrats, holding as the number 1 dinner that you wouldn't want to take part in. I'm Dr. Briggs, this is Talk Horror, and I'm about to throw up. Look horror, listen horror, talk horror.